nose strips. What is it about nose strips?
But whenever the intensity goes higher, you're not able to breathe through your nose as much as you want it. So honestly, I don't believe in it.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Nothing But a Good Time. Today's guest is Eline Peterse. She is a sports physiotherapist, a performance coach, and also a multifaceted athlete herself. We talk about what actually happens when you step into a fitness race and why a lot of strong, capable athletes still struggle more than they expect. From preparation and pacing to mental control and common mistakes, this episode is a deep dive into what it really takes to perform and not just finish. Let's get into it. What breaks first in fitness racing? The legs, the lungs, or the ego?
Okay, that's a real good question. Yeah, I would say ego. Yeah, definitely. And then second up, it will be heart, then legs. No, legs, then heart. Yeah, I would choose that order.
Why is the ego first?
Because honestly, whenever we're looking at fitness racing, it's just racing at your threshold for a full hour. So that's tough. And it's actually, it needs a great mentality to be able to really push yourself at that level for that long. Let's be honest. We all feel sorry for ourselves if it takes longer than 5 minutes. And then you just start negotiating with yourself like, okay, but I can go a little bit, slower, and then I'll still be fast. Or it can be the other way around, that you think that you're racing on top of the world, and then all of a sudden you get into the burpees or whatsoever, and you think, oh shit, I'm behind. And then a lot of people, I think, are also not really mentally that race ready, that they just think, okay, I'll give up then, because, F it.
Give up, as in?
Yeah, I can't get my goal time anymore. Okay, never mind then let it go.
Okay.
I do see that happen a lot during fitness. And then there's a lot of excuses on social media why they didn't get it also. So definitely ego.
It seems like this is mostly targeted for people chasing real performance. Then you talk about an hour, you talk about people chasing time.
Yeah.
So do you think these are the people most likely to have their ego bruised in the way then?
I would say so, but I'm also, I would say so, yeah.
So, and for the, let's say, average person that is just training a little bit, fitness racing classes or some running, some lifting.
Yeah, okay, good question. Then I would say, really depends on what your background is. Because some people that are just average level athletes, some of them come from CrossFit, others come from running. So whenever you come from running, obviously your legs will break down first, because then you think, shit, this is quite hard and this is quite heavy. Whereas people coming from CrossFit, for example, I'm sorry if I insult anyone right now, but then they often don't really have the stamina to go for that long, because they don't do that very long workouts. They often do it like a 20-minute M-rep or some power or strength training.
And then they lie on the floor for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then they think, okay, I have to run. Or also people who just go to the gym and think, okay, I want to do a Hyrox, for example. Yeah, then often they don't really understand that it's also quite hard to do the running in between. And they think too easy of it, maybe.
Well, I'm sure of that. Also because the last few years we've seen a lot of Hyrox mostly, but also other races on social media. Like a huge boom.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, the more you see it, the more you're like, oh, I can do this. Yeah. I see people doing them.
Yeah.
I can do this as well, because I run 2 times a week, or I lift 2 times a week, or I do CrossFit.
Yeah.
And people will probably underestimate the challenge, especially a Hyrox, which is much more difficult than other races like a gym race, for example.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Yeah, because of there's more of running in it. Yeah.
So the forever question is like, who is most likely the better athletes in a fitness race? Is it gonna be the CrossFitter that do a little bit of running in workouts, or maybe one time in the week outside of CrossFit, or the runner, or even maybe a triathlete?
Yeah, okay. Research. There's no research yet, so we don't know. So all I do here is guess. Let's be honest about that. The other day, I was having a discussion with a former colleague of mine. He works for Papendal, and he said, "Just wait until the real CrossFit athletes find the sport, because the real good Hyrox athletes, they are great runners, obviously." And I said, "Not all the CrossFit athletes are real good runners." But then he said they can make up so much on the stations. And then I said, "But why are they not there yet then?" And then he said, "Because they're not participating yet." Okay, that's being said, that's what he thought. I honestly think it's very important to be a good runner. Because you need to be able, because you're building up a lot of lactates in these stations. That's also what there are two reviews out now, and then it says, okay, a lot of lactate is built up during the stations, so you have to be able to process that during the runs. So to be able to process that during the runs, there determines if you can run a 4:00 or if you can run a 4:30 or a 3:30 pace, the kilometer. So if the CrossFit athletes are ever able to run faster, they have to run a 3:30 kilometer, then I think they'll will be the best at it. But if we have a run, I don't think the runners will be really good at it. So it will be a CrossFit athlete or a triathlete. Because the runners, they will probably run fast, but then I don't think they will manage so well on the stations.
And they get stuck, yeah.
Yeah, they're often not strong enough. They don't have that much power. And some of them have real stiff ligaments or stiff tendons. So I find it very impressive if they can get into these deep wall ball angles, for example. I don't think they'll manage so good.
We've all seen probably some videos on the internet of people struggling at those stations. Not just runners, but just people in general.
Yeah.
Being,
But I think we have to wait and see until in 10 or 15 years, because the sport is still so young. So now we don't know. A lot of fitness guys and girls are joining. Now a lot of triathletes are also joining because they like to do it, for example, as a winter activity. Maybe the real fast runners, they didn't join yet, I guess. I've seen within some pro races, I've seen some former football players. Yeah, could be good. And I honestly think the rowers could be really good at it.
Yeah.
Or ice skaters.
Okay, yeah.
But then I think even the rowers even better, because the ice skate, whenever the people do the ice skating, they often don't have that much stiffness within their ankles for the running, for the reactivity on the run. But then I think the rowers, they have this huge VO2 max. They're very much used to work out with having a lot of lactate within their lactic acid in their blood. Yeah, I think they have to find a sport.
It's funny you mentioned CrossFitters at like high level taking on fitness racing like Hyrox.
Yeah.
And I had to think about, I think it was Tia Claire Toomey and James Newberry. They are big CrossFitters, and Tia is one of the best in the world. She won multiple times the CrossFit championship, the CrossFit Games.
Oh yeah.
And she actually performed crazily good. But she's also just an overall athlete, just beast of an athlete.
Yeah.
But I think she also unlocked a couple of records in the US. So I think it bridges what you were saying before. Yeah.
So the real good CrossFit athletes still have to find the sport.
Yeah.
Because they are way faster on the rows or on the wall balls, because within CrossFit it's way more familiar to normal to do wall balls with way more kgs than what they're doing in Hyrox, of course. So I think a lot of CrossFit athletes think the weights are very easy.
Definitely.
Then can they run that fast, and do they have the stamina? That we have to find out, I guess.
Definitely. If somebody signs up for a race tomorrow, a Hyrox, their first time, what would you advise them to do to prepare?
Oh, Jesus, a real big question. let's see, if they sign up for a race tomorrow, then first we have to know what is their base level, and what is it that they've been doing so
Let's
far.
say for the just the thought that they are very average. They do some sport during the week, maybe a little bit of running, a little bit of gym, but no crazy intensity, no crazy like dedication to the sport or anything. Just they move.
Okay, then I would say make sure that you're able to do a proper 12 or 15, let's say average level. You should be able to run a 12K endurance run. So build up towards that. And then build it up easy. Just take your time. Make sure you don't do more than 10% of weekly volume, for example. And just build the base. So make sure you're able to run 12K as an endurance run. And then if you can do that, or 10K maybe, then you can, for example, also start with doing some interval runs. But I would not suggest you start with the interval runs already if you're only able to run a 5K in total. So make sure that you have your base level set, and that's, let's say, 10 to 12K endurance run. Then also start with some intervals. Then if your goal is just to finish a Hyrox, then maybe it's good to do 1 or 2 strength sessions every week, but let's just leave it at 1. And then I would really recommend to do some CrossFit classes within these watts, of course, or go to a Hyrox class or a Hyrox gym, because it's it is an interesting feeling whenever you have to start running again, when your legs are really heavy, for example, from a sled push or from burpees. So let's say 1 or 2 Hyrox training a week, maybe a strength training once a week, and then 2 runs, if that is possible within the schedule, of course.
Would you say that running is maybe the most important part of the training?
Well, really,
for the average, person.
Yeah. Well, for the average person, it takes them, let's say, 90 minutes in the race. So the total time will be 90 minutes, let's say 1 hour 30.
Which is pretty good still.
I think that was a bit average, but then...
I don't know.
Okay.
I've never done a Hyrox yet. I still have to experience one, but
so let's say 1 hour 30.
Yeah.
That's kind of long. So
it is long.
Yeah. So therefore, you need to build up the stamina so that you're able to be active for 1.5 hours without having to walk or stop your workouts. So therefore, I think it's important that you make sure that you build up the stamina. And you can do that with running, of course. But then if you're new to running, you don't go running for 1.5 hours. So then you can also choose, for example, to say, let's get my body ready for this 90-minute workout. I can do that, for example, with an erg session, that you say, okay, do 20 minutes on the road, 10-minute run, 20 minutes on the ski, 10-minute run, 20 minutes on the bike, 10-minute run. Then you've been building that stamina for 90 minutes. Some people like to go cycling outside for 2 hours. Great, go ahead and do it, because within the race you also need to be able to make sure that you're doing your activity for 90 minutes. And then running is important, yeah, definitely. But it's not the most important. It's important that you're able to run 10K. But then it's also important to practice your wall balls and your burpees, because otherwise it will take you very long on those stations. Yeah, or the lunges.
I was supposed to do last year the Hyrox, both in was it Maastricht maybe?
Yeah, could be.
And then Utrecht end of the year.
Oh yeah.
Sadly, I got injured for both times, so it didn't work out, which is very much of a shame, because I got tickets for both, so that was that was luck, a lot of luck for me as well.
Yeah.
But sadly, didn't work out on the other side. So, but I had a friend that I convinced to do the gym race, the Hyrox Utrecht in November.
Yeah.
Solo pro. And he doesn't do CrossFit at all. He's a very good runner. He's an ultra runner.
Oh,
so I thought, interesting.
Yeah.
There was a little bit the battle we wanted to do, CrossFitter versus ultra runner.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. But so I went to cheer on him. And some of the movements he was doing maybe for the first or second time in his life. And when he came to the sled, I saw his soul starting to leave his body.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he arrived on the lunges, And I thought he was gonna collapse
Yeah.
because they looked so heavy, and
Yeah.
you cannot drop the bag.
No,
You have
you
to
may
keep
not.
it. Yeah. And
You even get disqualified if you do.
Yeah. I was feeling so bad to leaving alone in this. And then he arrived on the wall balls at the end, and there was nothing left.
No. No, so then if we look at stamina, he has a huge stamina because he can go for, if he's an ultra runner, he can go for 10, maybe 20 hours straight just with easy pace and running. But then the weights are too heavy to do it in a zone 1 or a zone 2, especially the pro.
That was stupid.
Yeah, and especially Utrecht. I mean, the sleds were really heavy.
Oh, is there a difference between the different races? Or is this like the material of the mats?
Yeah. So there the mat was really heavy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you really feel the difference then between the races?
It was within Utrecht. It was a big deal.
Oh, people complained.
Yeah, big time.
Okay.
Because it was really heavy. It was really, really heavy. So for him. But then if you just think of it, that he has this huge stamina. And then we come back to ultra runners versus CrossFit athletes. Yeah, you need to be able to process those lactic acids while running, but you produce them nonetheless in those stations. And then he's a great zone 1, zone 2 runner, but he's probably not so great at zone 4 and especially not at zone 5. But these stations, your body often goes to zone 5. Maybe not per se a heart rate, but in intensity it does. Yeah. How long did it take him? Do you remember?
More than 2 hours. Yeah. He started really good. He really saved himself on the run from the beginning. He knew it was going to be hard. Also, I have to say, for his defense, he had to race at 8 in the evening, which it's not optimal.
No.
I mean, even if you're an evening person, you wait all day. There's like the apprehension of the event, which is also stress.
Yeah.
The whole day. So I don't think this helped.
Nutrition-wise, it's quite complicated.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Although I think he has this pretty much nailed down well because he's used to ultra races and stuff like this, so he knows his body pretty well for that.
Yeah.
But still,
yeah.
And I think the first third of the race was good. He paced himself well. After the sled, it started going down, and after the lunges, that was just it was just plunging down.
His soul left his body.
Yeah, I really saw his soul left, and there was just no one in there. But he kept pushing. I was surprised. Shout out to Vasilis.
Well
he's
done.
amazing. Yeah, well done.
Did he bring nutrition because it takes him 2 hours?
He did not have anything during the race. No.
Tough.
But also, first timers.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know better, so
No.
I didn't think it was gonna take 2 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, lesson learned also for me to see, how things are going, and hopefully I can get a ticket this year and make it happen. But,
yeah, would be nice.
Yeah. How do you set up a target for, again, the average person that trains and wants to do a certain time in a fitness race? But again, let's take Hyrox as an example. The pros are usually under an hour, right? Now I've seen crazy time like 52, 53 minutes, which is just mind-blowing.
Yeah. Is it Dutchie?
Yeah. It was Hidde.
Hidde Weersma.
I saw, impressive. Absolutely
He
impressive.
also lives in Utrecht.
I know. I think I've seen him once at Lead Out or something like this. Yeah. And also the story with his father, extremely touching and beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, congrats to him for sure. So pros are doing less than an hour.
Yeah.
And we were talking about average people, and I also checked when I was preparing for mine. I was also preparing for about 90 minutes.
Okay.
Which still I think is a good target because you still have to push for 90 minutes. I was thinking
on the pro.
Solo pro, I was saying.
Yeah, okay.
Which is, I think, a very good time.
Yeah.
For the average person. How does someone set up a target? Is there a way to calculate a target? Let's say, because I can run this distance in that time, this is sort of my target? Or is there a way to set up a target?
Yeah, let's start with no. There's nothing been validated on what is a proper test, as in a field test or whatsoever, for a Hyrox pace. Whereas, for example, we have an VO2 max test for running, and from there you can do set your marathon time, for example. That doesn't exist yet. I think a lot of companies are trying to make it and create it. I know there's a PFT test, that's just a little test, but then I don't know if there's any model built around it to really set the proper Hyrox test. So what we've been doing now, there's also not a lot of research about the sport yet because it's a very young sport. So what we now try, and for example, I've been coaching, I think over in total in the last few years, specifically within Hyrox, I think more than 100 athletes. So I just try to see, okay, most, for example, half marathon time, the people run a half marathon, that pace that they're running at, that's kind of, for example, like a pro time in an open or in a solo event. With mixed and doubles, it's different again, of course. But let's say we have the men pro, then let's build from your half marathon pace or a 15K pace. For example, a lot of my athletes did the Zevenheuvelen run in Nijmegen this year. And I also let them do, and I compared these times to their open Hyrox paces times, and they often were kind of compatible. And sometimes their open Hyrox pace was a little bit faster even. But then a 10K is way faster than the Hyrox pace.
But that works for then people that are running. Then they can compare their race time for 15 to 20K.
Yeah. So then you can make an estimation about what do we think that we can run. Yeah. And then another thing is just within your trainings, you can try, for example, to do a Hyrox, or you do a simulation of the first 4 stations. And then you can see, okay, I want to pace it. I want to be able to run the same pace that I run in the first and in the last run. And then I will try to pace my stations. And then you can just record your time, of course. Yeah. And then you can see, okay, RPA 7, this was RPA 7-8, for example. And then the ski took me 5 minutes. Then the run took me 6 minutes. And then from there you can just time it yourself a little bit, and then you can make your race plan, for example. So a lot of people that I coach, they've been doing simulations, or they've been doing Hyroxes, or been doing parts of the Hyrox and a few stations, and they timed it, so we know where are they at. Yeah. Okay. But there's not a real common test on how to set your race pace yet. I think within the coming 10 years it will. Yeah. Sport is still too young.
It's still growing, it's still booming. Yeah, for sure. Do you think gear matters a lot in a race like a Hyrox? When I talk about gear, I mean shoes.
Yeah,
basically.
Because there's very little
there's something else I want to mention
otherwise.
after the shoes, but do you think shoes are really important, can make a difference even for the average person?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, and mostly I don't think the average person needs carbon plates in their shoes, honestly, if you ask me. Because
I would agree.
Yeah, I don't think it benefits you at all, and often there's more tension on the tendons. So I would not do it for an average athlete. But the most important is the grip on the soles of the shoes. Because when you're doing your sled push and pull, for example, especially if the push is quite heavy because of the surface of the mat, then a lot of people are slipping on these mats. And then, for example, I see a lot of people, but wearing Adidas, and they slip, and so even some people slip out of their shoes. Yeah, then I think this is a running shoe, it's not a Hyrox shoe. Yeah. So now Puma actually released a Hyrox shoe with a lot of grip underneath, which is great and necessary. Because also if you, for example, go with your Alpha Flies, then try to do lunges on that. It's wobbly as F.
We can swear.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of those videos as well. Yeah,
so I do think gear, let's say shoes, matters. Yeah. For average athlete, just wear a shoe that's comfortable, that's stable, and gives you grip. That's most important.
There's always this this choice between extremely fast
Mm-hmm.
plated shoe, those
Yeah.
kind of shoe, and then very stable,
Yeah.
because you cannot really have both. It's difficult.
Yeah.
And you need to find also one that has the grip, indeed. Nowadays, I see a lot of companies, actually, the bigger brands are all just trying to integrate the market as well.
Yeah.
And actually, Puma, the Puma shoe is actually pretty good. We were talking about this before, but
Yeah.
I really like it. I have the DV8 Elite or something plate. I don't know if it's carbon inside this one, but it's a great shoe. And I was surprised also by Puma, because you don't expect this from Puma. And
they put a lot of money in R&D.
They did, and it's working pretty well for them, I think. So, funny enough, there's this new competition called ATHX. I don't know if you've seen this, by which also is joined by Adidas.
Oh.
And this is, so it's not really like a Hyrox or gym race. It's a bit more orientated for CrossFitters, so there's more heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And it's three stations, and you have a defined amount of time between them. So you go through that process of station 1, 10 minutes of rest, station 2, etc.
Okay, yeah, kind of sounds.
And you have also some cardio, some running, some machines.
Yeah.
You have maybe some, I think, heavy lifts as well that are included in the program. So it feels like more of a CrossFit workout, but still in that fitness race mentality.
Oh, yeah,
that's going to be also interesting to follow this.
And is it also doable for an average person again? Because the problem with CrossFit is there are also workouts with muscle ups or anything with the rings, and then it's quite hard. Handstand push-ups. That's quite impossible for a lot of people.
I don't think it is possible. Because I don't know the program by heart, and I think they also, which is something I really like, they change it every season.
Oh, that's also interesting.
Which I really like.
CrossFit again.
Yes, which is why it's really something that is like, oh, we want to do fitness racing, but we're CrossFitters, so we want to lift heavy too. So I think it's really this new sort of bubble that is growing now, and I really like.
Yeah.
And this ATHX, I don't know what it stands for, is coming to Amsterdam in October or November. I'm going to try to attend as a duo. We'll see how it goes. But
awesome.
It looks very interesting. And you're right to say that it's probably not as accessible for people, because there are very complex movements, like a heavy clean or stuff like this that people cannot do if they don't know.
No.
And they shouldn't, because you get injured.
Yeah, let's not try.
There's something that I think is very interesting that I don't understand physically and mentally how people can do this.
Okay, shoot.
A Hyrox Solo Pro.
Yeah.
Already a tough competition. It's a really tough race. The output is insane. And people push it under an hour, which mind-blowing just by itself.
Yeah.
Within that, some people manage to do 100 unbroken wall balls. And they get that Red Bull patch thingy.
Yeah.
How and why? I don't understand this. Tell me, how is this possible to get 100 wall balls unbroken?
Yeah.
Can you train for this?
Yeah, you can definitely train for it. That's for sure. But it's really hard, let's be honest. But I think the most important to do 100 wall balls broken is by pacing it. Because often people go real hard on the first, let's say 25, and then the pace goes down, the cadence goes down, and then you think like, oh, he's gonna take another 5, and then he's gonna drop, right? So just try it a lot. Try it with a way heavier ball. For example, people that are racing the open, they always train with the pro weights. How you, for example, you can train it is by doing, let's say, 140 wall balls. And then you do 20 and then each, and then you try to keep the rest, let's say 5 till 10 seconds. And from there, you can just try and see how far you can get. Can you really every time cope with these 20 reps with only 5 till 10 seconds rest? Now, that's a way to train it. Another way to train, for example, is that if you start with, let's say, an 8K wall ball, and then you think, okay, I need to drop it, then I continue immediately with the 6K. And you're going to continue training it, repeating it until you feel like you need to drop it, and then you do the 4K. Because you just decrease the weight, but you keep on doing the 100 movements all at once. And if that means that you end up with a 4K wall ball, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So that are ways to train your wall balls. And overall, but just by doing it a lot. So I program a lot of times. Yeah, I often also always write sorry in my description or good luck or something like that. Because I also often program 200 wall balls. Or
That's
10
horrible.
times 20. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, sometimes I'm writing stuff down and I'm thinking, oh, this is horrible. But then I also think, yeah, it does work. So let's go.
It does. And just to give some context to people also, you coach very average athletes, but also basically professional athletes.
Yeah.
People who have actually unlocked, world records in Hyrox as well. And so you have a very wide range of people that you coach as well.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, so I do have a lot of, within Hyrox, I have a lot of people who are sub 60 or around sub 60 on the open, and who are around the 60 minutes on the pro, for example. So one guy, he's now on 1:00:11.
Whoa.
So if he hits that next race, if he hits a sub 60, he will be my first athlete in the pro division sub 60.
That's amazing.
But I've helped a lot of guys sub 60 already in the open division. So that's actually within Hyrox. I work a lot with those type of athletes. And within running or in triathlon, I also have the more average type of athlete because I really like working with those type of people. But within Hyrox, the people that I personally coach, I also have a few other coaches that work with me. But I mostly work with the people around the 60-minute barrier or trying to get there, for example. So that's great because some people are already, let's say, 1:05. Then it is a big chance that it will also be possible to do a sub 60. So then I get to work with people who are quite athletic themselves already. So that's great.
That's amazing. Yeah. And actually, I checked your times as well for the Hyrox races.
Mine.
Pretty impressive.
Mine.
As well. Your time.
Oh, mine.
Your times. So you've done a couple of those races already at Hyrox. You've done more than 10, I think, already races.
Yeah.
Throughout the last years, mostly duo.
Yeah.
I think you got a qualification spot, right? For one of the, was it a duo?
Yeah, mixed duo.
Mixed duo.
Yeah.
Walk me through that race. Like how was it to unlock such a record?
Yeah, well, honestly, so I'm a triathlete, and I like to do Hyrox in winter, and so this year was actually the first Hyrox season that I really trained for, because often I just people ask me, do you want to do Hyrox together? I would say, oh yeah, sure, fun. When is it? In 6 weeks. Okay, I should start preparing then. So then I just did a few Hyrox trainings, but because of my base of being a triathlete, I could always manage. So whenever we got that qualification spot, we were just having a fun race, and we didn't even think that it was possible. We didn't even discuss it up front. And it was at the end of the day that we were waiting, and we saw we were still, I think, on 3rd place. We could also be 2nd. I don't even know that well, honestly. And then we decided, okay, we'll take it. Yeah.
So yeah, indeed, you do so Hyrox races, but your background is triathlon that you've been doing for many, many years.
Yeah.
I saw running obviously is part of it, right? But
yeah.
You also run. And I saw with hockey as well. You put something on. You did play hockey before?
I did play. So I did play field hockey, and I was not too bad at it too. But then from there, I always liked sports. So whenever I did my high school, I thought, okay, I want to work within sports, but what exactly do I want to do then? So then first I got to ISMB. That's called International Sports Management and Business. It's kind of the hospitality study you did, but then for sports specifically. And there we had 13 hours a week of sports classes, which was amazing because we've done everything. We did cricket, rugby, dance, also did a triathlon, and we did everything. It was amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then from there, I did my personal trainer. I got my personal trainer license during the weekends. And whenever I started doing these personal trainings, I also started to give bootcamp training. And from there, I got into running. So then I was still playing field hockey, but I also started doing half marathons and marathons. And then later triathlons, and then later Hyrox.
Quick break. We'll get back to it in just a second, but for now, I want to say thank you for being here with us today. I really appreciate you for that. So if you are enjoying this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow on the platform that you're in. And of course, if you know somebody that will like this episode, make sure to share it with them. That's it. We're done. Let's get back to it. I saw you starting coaching in 2015-ish.
Yeah.
So it's basically more than 10 years now, which is a long time. Nice.
Yeah.
Is your coaching approach different for, let's say, more beginners versus advanced athletes, or your coaching, let's say, philosophy remains sort of the same throughout?
I think it is kind of the same, honestly, but the one thing is more intense than the other. So so the philosophy is that I really try to put people within their own power. I think that's very important. So I want to be your cheerleader, and I want sometimes to be critical, of course, but I really want you to truly believe in yourself. And I want to provide the trainings that are manageable and that are within their reach, so they have a success every time that they do their training and they start believing within themselves. And that's what I do with the beginner type of level, but I also do with the advanced. But then there are just way more trainings that they're doing. But within the basics, I kind of have the same conversations, because those people are sometimes also very nervous for a race. And it's not different than someone who's doing it for the first time is also nervous. The one person is nervous because they don't know it yet, and the other person is nervous because of the expectations of everyone else. But in the essence, it's you're being nervous. Why are you nervous? What can I do to help? And what type of theoretical models can we use for that to change?
That's interesting. Who needs more of a pep talk, the beginner or the advanced athlete?
That's too hard to choose. It's kind of the same as who needs more of a pep, a man or a woman.
Yeah.
It really depends on the person. But I am equally happy whenever they reach their goals. And that people don't always believe when I say it. But for example, if someone, so on the Rotterdam 10K, coming April, there's this woman, she has her own background story, and she just got into running and she lost all her confidence within her own body. And now she has her confidence back and she wants to do a sub 70 minutes on the 10K run. So that's not really fast compared to a sub 60 Hyrox athlete, right? But I'm going to pace her on that race because I really want her to achieve that goal, because I know it means so much to her. And whenever she achieves that goal, yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And it's just as amazing as whenever someone reaches the sub 60 Hyrox. I mean, that's also really, really impressive and really cool, and something someone really, really wants. And sometimes it's also good for my branding, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. If I get another sub 60 athlete, then more people will think, okay, I want her to be my coach.
Yeah, everybody has their own context.
Yeah.
And within that context, the achievement of set goal is as important as the others. So I can definitely see.
In the end, I work with people. That's what I like. Yeah. I like working with people.
Makes sense. Otherwise, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
Coaching for 10 years. Have you seen some change in general coaching, but also maybe in the way you coach throughout now, those 10 years? And, the world is evolving fast. Nowadays, you have AI, you have all those kind of things. People have different expectations. You have social media, you have all of this together.
Yeah.
So how has this impacted your your maybe philosophy or approach to coaching, or what are the expectations from people, from coaches?
Okay, so I think a lot has changed in the last 11 years. So first, let's say within fitness, a lot has changed, because when in 2015, it was still very popular to be skinny, to avoid eating carbs, to really focus on being bikini fitness fit. So being skinny to get, it was the most important, and how to get there by eating a maximum of 1600 calories a day and doing a lot of cardio. That was the basic. Then I also, whenever I started with my personal training 11 years ago, I also said, okay, we want to get into a calorie deficit. That means that you have to get into, that you have a maximum of, let's say, 15 or 1600 calories. Well, that's something I would never say ever again. So that has changed, obviously. So I think how it really changed from being wanting to be skinny to be strong. Wanted to be strong and wanted to be healthy. I think there's a big switch into that. So also focus on your sleep, on your stress levels, and of course on your workouts. So that has changed. I think my philosophy has not changed so much. I've always wanted to be your personal cheerleader, because also I've experienced it myself from an unhealthy kind of climate within triathlon, that, for example, they would laugh at you if you didn't run a sub 40 10K, then you didn't really, then they said, okay, if you don't even run a 39 minutes on a 10K, what are you even doing here? Then you were not supposed to be in that group. So there was kind of an unhealthy climate, and it was really focused on tearing people down instead of bringing them up. Yeah. So by experiencing that, I know I don't want to work like that. I don't believe in that type of philosophy. I believe in whenever we try to stay positive, focus on whatever goes right, focus on the task, focus on the process. From there we can grow. So I think that's always been the essence of my philosophy of coaching. So that has not changed so much. And in the end, yes, there's a lot of AI right now, but a lot of people try AI. For some people, works great because they are quite good at managing themselves. But there's still a lot of people who really want to have that human contact, that just want to be able to text me and say, oh, this workout went so great, I'm so happy, or I'm feeling really shitty today, I don't know how to manage it, what shall I do? And that I can say, okay, you know what, get yourself a hot cup of tea and some chocolate and enjoy your evening on the couch. So, and a lot of people also say, whenever they've had their coaching trajectory with me, that they say they've learned a lot, which they wouldn't have learned from AI, or not everyone wants to find it out themselves or figure it out and themselves. They just want someone to tell them what to do, and then they can just continue with their day because they're busy enough themselves. So I'm not scared of AI yet.
The human contact, I think, is the one thing that is never going to be replaced. No. And that people will seek more and more as we go into AI. Digital worlds. I think people are now leaning into it right now because we have no choice. It's a part of everything. But I think after a while, we're going to realize that this is not what we actually want and need.
No.
And we're going to go back to being more connected.
Yeah.
At least that's my hope. But that's what I project for the future. Yeah.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Because in the essence, we're still very social animals.
Yeah. That's why I think, we're going to go back to our roots of being tribal and community-based.
Yeah. So that's also what I try, for example, is we have the coaching is mostly online. So if people from Groningen and from Zeeland, and Maastricht. So it's quite far away. But then I want to say, but there is a kind of a community built around it now. So people are cheering for each other, and also they meet each other on events, and then they're cheering for each other on events. So that's also part of what I do is, we bring the people together. I organize these events, and sometimes 6 people come, sometimes 25 people come. But then I try to interact on that social need too.
Yeah, I've seen it because Wiebke, who's just now here, followed your program for the marathon, and she succeeded her first marathon. So that was a success story.
Very proud of her.
And she also mentioned a couple of times that you had those get together events, whether it was just a run or trail, whatever, just to be together and have a good time and maybe learn something on the way as well. So I thought that was really cool to have that touch as well. Yeah. Training, coaching. There is a big part of it, which is physical, of course, but the other part is the mental part, which at least people, myself, struggle a lot with because I don't really think about it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in the gym. I'm going to do my workout and then that's my training. But I don't really spend enough time training my my head, my mentality, my approach. And looking a little bit at your website, I found this circle. You call it the sixth circle of Eberspacher. Yeah, maybe I butchered the name, but and I thought that was really interesting to see this. Maybe talk to me about this a little bit. How it approaches the mental.
Game. Actually.
Game, basically.
Yeah,
game. That's the word.
Yeah, so whatever you're talking about is called in Dutch, is called the aandachtscirkels. So the circles of focus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the type of focus that you can have during an event or during a race or even during a training. And there are 6 circles and you want to be within the middle. So the circle 1, and that is me and the task that I need to complete. The task that you need to complete, for example, is by doing a burpee, is get to the ground, step up, make a jump.
Okay, so that's real focus on what's happening now. Yeah, what am I executing right now?
Yeah. Or I need to run 350 the kilometer. So am I running 350 the kilometer? Okay, great. What do I, whenever you find it hard, what do I need to do? Step by step, foot for foot. So that is just the task that you need to do without any emotions or any interpretation of whatever it means what you're doing. And that's the essence. Then you have complete focus. For example, if you're doing let's say you're a soccer player and you need to take a penalty in the World Cup final. Then all you want to do is be in the circle of focus of number 1 of being there like, okay, what do I need to do? I need to kick it into the left corner. You don't want to think of, okay, what happens if I don't kick it on the left corner? What happens if I even miss it? What happens if I don't, if I miss, that means that we're losing. If we lose, what does that mean for my career? And all of a sudden you're in some kind of loop. Because the first circle is, what do I need to do? What's the task? That's what you want to be at. Then is it the next circle, for example, is, okay, some distractions, like, okay, there's a lot of people watching me right now. I hope I can still manage with all these people watching me, for example. Or the weather is real shitty. There will be a lot of wind. There's a lot of wind. I will never be able to run my personal best. So that are the distractions from your surroundings or from the environment. Then the next circles are like, okay, what happens if I don't do it right? What happens if I don't do it right? What does that mean? And the last circle is, what the hell am I doing here? Why did I think this would be fun? And this is all types of different stages that you can get into mentally. Where it should be a sign whenever you these thoughts cross your mind, it should be a direct sign. Okay, hey, I think of the weather, go back to the task. What do I need to do? Foot by foot. And from there, because there are no emotions there are no interpretations there, you just have to do a burpee, means bringing your body to the floor, step up and jump. And don't think of, oh my God, still 60 meters to go. It's so far. If you get all these thoughts within your mind, then you get distracted from your task of what you really have to do. And then you can also let emotions come in the way. and think, oh, this is so heavy, this is so far. How am I ever gonna compete these 100 wall balls? No, you just have to do is, okay, I have to count till 10. And if I don't want to do unbroken, I just have to count till 10. Okay, can I count till 10? I can always count till 10. So all I need to do is count till 10. And then whenever the ball drops, I do 3, 2, 1, pick up the ball and to count till 10. That's all I have to do. And there's all the emotions and thoughts that are allowed to be there.
So the goal is to really remain in that central circle the whole time and try to be there as much as possible doing.
And whenever you get distracted, you have to send yourself back into that.
Yeah. I read somewhere, maybe even on your website as well, that we tend to focus for 8 seconds in that circle, which seems very short.
It's our monkey brain.
Yes. A goldfish kind of a...
Yeah.
But then how do you stay focused and stay in that zone? Is there any trick or tips that we can apply to really stay focused?
It's by actively bringing your focus back. And that can also a trick that's very good for it is mantras, for example. So I have a lot, and they always often come to mind when I'm racing. So all I need to do is foot for foot, for example, or keep it technical, keep it easy on the run, for example. And then I just make a song out of it. Like, hou hem technisch, hou hem soepel, hou hem technisch, hou hem soepel. And I can continue singing that for 12 kilometers. That's fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
No need for music.
Yeah.
You have your own.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not allowed to bring music on the Ironman. So
True. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is this something that people can or should maybe even train before? Is this something that you should practice during their training, during their like running sessions, lifting sessions beforehand?
Yeah, because it starts with knowing that that this exists. Because whenever we feel sorry for ourselves during a training, then we're already very distracted. Because why do you feel sorry for yourself? Just decide to quit or to continue doing it. But don't feel sorry for yourself and keep on doing it. I find it very annoying. If you feel so sorry for yourself, then quit or continue doing it without complaining. That are the two options in my mind. But not with this amount of complaints that I found very annoying. So then quit. But then that means that if you don't know it exists, then you sometimes feel so sorry for yourself. And you think, oh, this is so hard. I can never manage. But then that's just your brain tricking you into stopping or quitting. And if you know that it actually works like that and we can focus and retrain our focus, then the first thing I need to do is tell them, okay, we have these 6 types of circles. We want to be in the first circle. So whenever your brain does distract you and tries to convince you to stop, go back to circle 1. And that's something you can practice a lot. Also, whenever, for example, you're running into the wind or you're biking in the wind, it's very annoying. Then you can be annoyed and think, oh, it's so heavy, I hate these winds. Or you can just think, I will make a turn within any other time, and until then this is just what it is, and then that's what it is.
Yeah, really train this beforehand and then apply it during the race. But then is self-talk, talking to yourself, important, but also it has to be positive then.
Definitely.
Otherwise, is this something that you also then train within that, also bubble of the mental game, basically? So the circles, but also the self-talk. It's okay. This is fine.
Yeah. So we know that positive self-talk has a significant effect on performance. Also negative self-talk. So you don't always have to believe it, but at least you have to tell it yourself. And our brain doesn't know the word no. So if I say, don't think about the pink elephant, we've all seen our pink elephant. So if you say, don't give up, and you're in a very hard workout and you think, don't give up, all you're saying is give up. So always make sure that you rewrite the words into positive words. Like instead of don't give up, just keep on going, for example. And we know that positive self-talk has a significant effect on performance. So then always make sure that say the words that you would also tell a friend and keep it in a positive framed way, because if you put a no or the don't before it, that's something we can't really process.
So the brain only remembers what the subject is, sort of, but doesn't understand the do or do not, basically. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so always, so for example, things I tell myself is, for example, so I would never say, you're not a pussy, let's go, you know? I would say, you're motherfucking strong, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would always, and so also sometimes whenever I find it hard, I'm like, you're so strong, let's go. Come on, you can do this. You're so strong, you can do this. I just tell that to myself. And also, okay, sometimes back to the task. So whenever I'm not feeling it, I was doing wall. I think I did 120 wall balls yesterday morning. I just said, okay, you can always count till 10. You can always count till 10. And all I do is 10. And then I can drop it because I can count till 10. And whenever you're past 5 and you want to go till 10, then you can, I just try to make it into a mental game.
Yeah. And also reduces the task into very rudimental, simple structure. Like this is the goal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10. That's it. There's no external. No. Yeah. That's interesting. It's funny because I preparing for the podcast, I found the circle of attention very interesting, and it actually checks out because I think about my first gym race, which was my first ever fitness race ever done with the body. So also very different workout, doing something in a duo than solo, which I haven't done yet. And I remember we had a perfect day.
Yeah.
You wake up, you get your nutrition in, you don't eat. Everything is perfect throughout the race, communication, execution, pace, everything was amazing. And I was like, okay, what did I do well? Because I want to do this again and again and again and forever.
Yeah.
It turns out that I did not think about anything. I think I was probably in that zone, that circle 1 or whatever it's called, the central circle, where I was just like, we're running. I'm following my buddy Martin.
Yeah,
let's go.
Perfect.
He's turn right. Okay. He's going first. Okay. Breathe down, and then only I think maybe 80% done throughout the workout. I thought, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Yeah,
it's almost done.
Yeah,
and I realized only at that point that I was actually doing the work.
Yeah,
and until then I was not distracted at all. And I think that really made us be successful because we were both in that zone, not thinking about anything else, just breathing, pushing, counting the reps, communicating. And
that's amazing.
That was absolutely fantastic.
That is really amazing. And it's also something you don't experience every race. Let's be
honest. I have never done this before. So this was for me a big, big, wow, this can happen.
Yeah. And whenever that happens and sometimes you don't reach your goal time, but you do get this race, then you can be just as happy, in my experience.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we actually did perform well in terms of time. So it was, fantastic. Now I want to have this every time.
Yeah.
The second time we did the heavy version, didn't work out as well because we had more time to whine, like this is heavy, and the lunges and
not in
the central circle, more distracted than anything else. Still fun.
Yeah.
But actually a question. So I've done twice fitness racing, so gym race, which is again easier than Hyrox with the body, and I'm gonna do this year the first time a solo race, which is a completely different workout. In the terms of you have no forced rest.
Yeah,
you have to manage your time.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or tricks to apply on when to take rests and maybe or when to plan the rests ahead of time?
Yeah, you don't take rests. So that's the fun thing about doing the doubles. It's the intensity is higher, but you also get the rest. When you're doing a solo, you're doing it the whole time and there's not a moment of resting. So you just have to make sure that your intensity is way down, especially if it's your first. If you, for example, want to go sub 60 Hyrox and even in the pro, then it's just almost the same intensity as a double, but then by yourself. That's really, really hard. Let's be honest, especially mentally, because you have to race while your finger is in between the door. That's how it feels. But then whenever you're doing a solo instead of a double, just make sure you pace it. And in the beginning, it feels too easy, but that's good for the first time. Let's make it feel too easy in the beginning, So you can always go faster at the end. And sometimes you can go faster in the end. That means that even though it felt easy in the beginning, you were on the right pace. Because if you then don't go way slower at the end, then you actually pace perfectly. So if you can keep the same pace and it feels heavier at the end and quite easy in the beginning, and you can still push further, then go faster then and decide, okay, next time I can go take a little bit more risk at the beginning. And otherwise, if it feels heavy at the end, you probably did the right pacing. But you don't ever want to go slower at the end, because then you went way too fast in the beginning, and then it's not a great experience. No. It's probably what your friend also experienced.
I was thinking about him right now. I was like, oh, Vasilis, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He did well for a first time with basically no preparation specific for fitness racing. He did amazing. But yeah, how important is it to plan in advance? Let's say how you're gonna divide the game plan basically for each station, the pace. Is it really important to have a game plan beforehand, or is it okay to sort of, wing it during the race?
I would say always race with the plan, and it doesn't mean that the plan needs to be. Yeah, I with all the people that I coach, we make a plan. Okay, first kilometer this pace, the ski this pace, etc. Some people don't like it like that, so then you don't have to. But always make sure you have some sort of plan that you say, okay, I want to at least say that overall, on average, I want to run 5:30 kilometers per kilometer, and then. If that means that you do the first run on 5:35 and the last one on 5:25, yeah, that you don't have to consider that much. I do that with the people I coach, but you don't have to. But always make sure you race with the plan, because otherwise, because of the adrenaline and the music and all these fit people around you running from the starting tunnel, yeah, I don't know about you, but then you just go out way too fast. And then after 10 minutes, you hate yourself.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought about something I forgot to mention before. We talked about shoes.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing I had in mind was, we see it so much, and it's mostly because social media is also very sponsored by many brands on different posts, but nose strips. Oh. What is it about nose strips? Is this real? Is this just a hype, or is this like another way to gain 0.005% of speed on like breathing, or what is this? What is going on?
Honestly, I haven't read the research myself, but I've been listening to a podcast that did, and just by general knowledge of my studies, I don't think it will work. Honestly, I think it will work, for example, on a very easy pace, because then you're still able to breathe through your nose in and out. But whenever the intensity goes higher, you're not able to breathe through your nose as much as you want it. Always, the mouth breathing will always become a very big part of breathing whenever the intensity is about 75% or faster. So, honestly, I don't believe in it. No, and I've tried it myself also. Whenever you put it on, it feels like, oh it feels more open, so it feels great. And you also think like it's easier to breathe, definitely. Yeah. But I think the studies don't show any difference. That's what they said in the other podcast. And if you just think of it, the more intense the workout, mouth breathing will just take over the nose breathing. So then,
so it's more of a hype now.
I think it's a hype. I don't think it will work on high intensity.
I gotta try it out.
Yeah,
or not.
But just for some people, if at least, so I mean, placebo is still an effect. Yeah. So for some people, it does work. By putting it on, they feel immediately like, okay, I'm ready, race ready. Then put on your nose strip and get race ready if that's what you need. But I think if we look at the literature, probably, I assume, it will say it doesn't do anything.
Maybe one last thing I want to touch on is injuries.
Ooh.
Training for fitness race includes a lot of things. right? It's in running, like strength, some transitions between machines and everything. But do you see in your experience some like common flaring injuries in the preparation of fitness racing that people should be aware of and maybe preventively be, careful about?
Yeah, definitely. Whatever we see is overuse injuries. So we don't see big injuries like meniscus torn or ACL type of injuries, or because there's no active contact with another person. So most of the injuries are overuse injuries. And when we look at an overuse injury, it often is something tendon or bone related. It can be muscle related, but then often whenever there's a muscle torn, it also is often by having a big sprint or real fast sprint or a turn that you're making, or a real explosive jump. When we look at fitness racing, there's not so much turning and twisting. Anticipating on a ball, no. There's no high sprinting. There is some jumping, but the jumping is not a maximum jump reaching for a basket. It's kind of a jump of, okay, I need to do 80 other jumps still, right? So it's not so much that it's often a muscle torn. It's often just overuse injury, and then more likely tendon or bone related, or, for example, very stiff muscles. How can we make sure that you don't get any overuse injury? Prioritize your recovery. You can train 6-7 times a week, but then if you don't get enough sleep in or the right nutrition in, then an overuse injury will occur real fast. Especially bone injuries often are related to not having had too much calorie intake, for example. And a tendon injury is often related to running and jumping, for example, and often in a repetitive, linear, circular movement, like running or jumping, burpees, etc. And how can you make sure you don't? If you're used to training 3 times a week, first try to increase the volume in these 3 times, then add a 4th, but don't go from 3 times a week all of a sudden into 6 times a week. And then often bone as well as tendon injury, they occur later. So then you feel like I'm on a right track. I've been training for 4-6 weeks. I've been doing so well. It was amazing. I feel fit. I went to the gym 3 times a week. I did 3 runs a week and I feel so strong. And then 6 weeks later, hey, bye-bye. It's not going to happen anymore because you have an overuse injury of a tendon, Achilles, knee, but also foot, a lot of foot tendon. So make sure that you don't overuse, and it's often occurs. Be aware that it occurs 6 weeks later.
Train smart, refuel, rest, and build up slowly.
Yeah, build up slowly. Please build
Which
up
I think
slowly.
is the biggest thing for people, because you get hyped about maybe a goal or a race, and you want to do more, and you see people on social media, they're doing more, and your neighbors and your friends, and you want to hit the gym and run, and
then you sign up to a Hyrox gym, and then you want to do all the classes because it's Hyrox running, it's Hyrox strength, and all of a sudden you're doing 4 Hyrox classes a week, and then also try to program your running schedule in between. Yeah, it's quite a puzzle, but.
What do you have in mind for this year? Do you have any specific goals? Any race coming up for you?
I do. So I did 3 Hyroxes in the winter, and now I'm going back to triathlon. So I'm also doing the gym race in Utrecht.
Nice.
With the friends. And then I'm doing the half marathon in Utrecht, the half marathon in London, half triathlon in France. And we're organizing a 10-day triathlon trip to Uganda.
Wow.
Yeah. So there are a lot of awesome trips and travels combined with some events coming up for the coming season.
Nice. Eline, thank you very much for the time today. It was a lot of fun. We can talk about so many things, but
thank you
I think the time is up for now. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on my website. We'll put in bio. And of course on my Instagram. I think that are the 2 best ways to reach me. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll drop all the links in the description down below.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.